blizzard hit Salem like a curse, a white wall against the windshield, wipers scraping so harshly it made her want to scream. Emily gripped the steering wheel with bloodless fingers, her hands trembling. Not from the cold outside, but from the one lodged deep within her chest since Mr. Dalton had died in her arms 2 hours ago. Home. God, just get home. Forget this day. Forget his eyes when he looked at me for the last time. She could still feel his hand cooling in hers, life slipping away as she watched helplessly. His eyes had widened, staring at something behind her, lips moving soundlessly, trying to say something. The mansion emerged from the blizzard like a ghost, dark with spires piercing the storm, and Emily's heart fluttered with relief. Almost home, almost safe. The car buried itself in a snowdrift and stalled. No. Emily struck the steering wheel, her voice cracking with desperation. Please. She had to walk. The wind lashed her face with icy needles. Snow crawled under her clothes, and every step drained what little strength she had left. Near the porch, she saw it, a dark shape by the gates, and her heart lurched with fear. What is that? Who is that? Panic clenched in her chest, a step closer. A man, homeless, by the look of his rags, sitting slumped against the gate, head bowed, motionless. He's dead. God, he froze to death here. Horror seized her throat. Emily ran to him, forgetting everything else. She dropped to her knees in the snow, tore off a glove, pressed her fingers to his neck. The skin was like ice in a morgue, but there, a pulse faint as a whisper, but still there. Hey, stay with me. Her voice broke into a cry, her hands shaking as she grabbed his shoulders. His eyelids fluttered open, clouded eyes. Blue lips moved weakly. Help. Her phone vibrated. Rachel. Hello? Emily pressed the phone to her ear, breath ragged. Emily, are you home? Her sister's voice was wrong, sharp, terrified. Rachel was never afraid. Almost, but there's a man here. Don't let anyone in. The scream was so fierce, Emily flinched. Do you hear me? No one. Not tonight. What is she talking about? Has she lost her mind? Confusion mixed with irritation. Rach, he's dying. I can't just... Last night I had a dream. Rachel's voice trembled with real horror. You let someone in, and you disappeared. I couldn't find you. Goosebumps crawled up Emily's spine like frost. Rachel didn't believe in dreams. Ever. I don't have a signal, I can't call an ambulance, and he's dying right now. Emily's desperation spilled out. Emily, please! The line went dead. Emily glanced at her watch. A gift from Aunt Margaret. 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes to midnight. Why does that matter? What difference does it make? But something inside her, something ancient whispered, don't let him in. Wait, not after midnight. This is madness. He'll die while I stand here listening to nonsense. Rage at herself flared with helplessness. The man exhaled weakly, his eyelids drooping. No, stay with me. Emily grabbed him, shaking, panic breaking through her words. I promise I'll help you. I'm a nurse. I took an oath. I can't let him die. The thought rang like steel, drowning out the fear. She lifted him, shockingly light, as if hollow inside. He smelled faintly sweet, rotten, nauseating. She led him toward the porch. The steps were slick. Her foot slipped. She caught the railing, splinters biting into her palm. Keys. She shoved them into the lock with trembling fingers. And then the old church bell began to toll. The sound rolled through the streets deep and heavy, and something in Emily's chest tightened. She turned the key, her fingers slick with sweat despite the cold. A second toll, like a funeral bell, and her heart skipped a beat. Emily pushed the door with her shoulder. It creaked open, grudgingly, like it didn't want to. The third toll reverberated through her ribs, her spine, her very bones. Something's wrong. Something's terribly wrong. The unease spread inside her, darker with every strike. 4th, 5th, 6th. The air grew heavier, colder with each echo. Emily crossed the threshold, dragging the man inside, her hands trembling harder. 7th, 8th, 9th. The ringing filled the house, pressing against her eardrums. I have to save him. I have to. Desperation drove her forward. 10th, 11th. The man stepped through the doorway and relief washed over Emily. She'd done it. She'd saved him. 12th toll, midnight. And in that second, between the last toll and the silence that followed, the whole house exhaled. A wave of cold swept through her, not the cold of winter, but the cold of graves, ancient, deathly. It wrapped around Emily, seeped under her skin, into her bones. She gasped. The air turned to ice in her throat. Every candle in the hallway went out at once. What's happening? Terror slashed through her nerves. The darkness was absolute, blinding, and in it Emily could hear only her heartbeat, frantic and loud. Then the candles flared back to life, on their own, and the flames burned blue, cold, dead light. What? The word caught in her throat, strangled by horror. The man straightened up, just like that. All his weight was gone. He no longer leaned on her. He stood firmly, confidently, like someone who had never been dying at all. Emily let go and stumbled back, her heart pounding so violently her chest ached. His eyes. Something's wrong with his eyes. Too alive, too clear. The realization hit with a freezing terror. You need to change into something dry, she forced herself to say, her voice trembling. I'll bring you some clothes. He nodded silently and began to take off his coat. Emily turned away, but from the corner of her eye she caught a glimpse. On his back, between the shoulder blades, a mark, not a scar, a symbol. Burned into the flesh, a circle with runes. What is that? God, what does it mean? Panic exploded in her mind. Every nerve screamed, "Run! Now! Don't look back!" Curious, are you? His voice came from behind and she flinched. No, I'm sorry. The words tumbled out, broken and guilty. It's all right, he said, turning toward her, and smiled. The smile was too wide, too many teeth, too white. An old mark. From another life, he added softly, with a kind of awful tenderness. Emily nodded, not trusting her voice, and headed for the stairs on unsteady legs. I'll be right back, she managed, her voice cracking. She climbed the stairs, clutching the railing, grabbed a robe and some towels. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped them. Calm down. You're just tired. He's just a homeless man. The rest is your imagination. But the words sounded hollow, fake. She went back down. He was standing by the family portrait, his back to her. Beautiful house, he said dreamily. Old. Houses like this keep many secrets. Yes, it belonged to my aunt, Emily answered carefully, each word an effort. Margaret, he said. He didn't ask. He knew. Emily froze. The towels slipped from her hands. How do you... Her voice broke, the fear betraying her. He turned, and his head turned wrong, farther than it should. The neck kept twisting, 90 degrees, 120, 150, 180, facing her, back to the portrait. Impossible. No human can move like that. Her breath caught. Her heart beat so fast it hurt. He smiled. His eyes glowed red, like coals before a fire. You are very kind, child, the voice said. Not one voice, but many, male, female, young, old, all speaking together, echoing through the house. I'll stay here until dawn. His head turned back with a sickening crack. Emily stood frozen, pressed against the railing, couldn't breathe, couldn't scream, couldn't move. What have I done? My God, what did I let into my house? Terror locked every muscle in her body. He tilted his head slightly, his tone almost gentle. Thank you for letting me in, Emily." She hadn't told him her name. 17 minutes past midnight. Emily stood by the door, her fingers clamped around the cold brass handle so tightly her knuckles turned white with pain. She pulled. It didn't move. The door felt fused to the frame. Number. Come on, open. The thought rose with panic that choked her throat. She turned the key, but the keyhole was empty. Where is it? Her voice came out a desperate whisper. Her hands searched her pockets. Nothing. The keys were gone, and her heart hammered like it was trying to break free. "Looking for these?" Elias's voice came from right behind her. Emily spun around, terror slicing through her nerves. He stood in the living room doorway, her keys jingling lazily in his hand, mocking, like a toy. "Give them back!" she shouted, anger pushing through her fear. Elias tilted his head at an unnatural angle, that too wide smile returning. "You won't be needing them," he said softly with that awful gentleness. "The house won't let you go, not until I'm done." Done with what? God, what is he going to do to me? Terror exploded in her chest like a shard of ice. Emily bolted to the window, gripped the frame. It wouldn't budge. She pulled harder, nails breaking, but the glass seemed fused to the wood. Movement outside. Rachel. Her sister stood in the storm, pounding on the window, screaming silently, mouth open, face twisted in panic. "Rach, I'm here!" Emily screamed, slamming her fists on the glass, her voice cracking. Rachel pointed to the door, tried to run toward it, but something invisible shoved her back. She tried again. Nothing. She screamed again, soundless, her eyes filled with terror. "Don't go! Don't leave me!" Emily clawed at the window, blood seeping from under her nails, but there was no pain, only animal fear. "She can't come in," Elias said calmly, almost tenderly. "It's just you and me." Rachel began to fade in the blizzard, dissolving, disappearing. "No!" Emily screamed, pounding on the glass with wild desperation. A sob tore from her chest. Her sister was gone. I'm alone, completely alone, with this monster. Despair swallowed her whole, dark, suffocating. "What are you?" She turned to him, voice breaking through tears, trembling with rage and horror. Elias stepped closer, each footfall echoing through her chest like a dull heartbeat. "I am the devourer of mercy." His voice rang against the walls, layered and resonant. "I hunt the kind-hearted, those like you, whose hearts are too soft." My kindness, it's gonna kill me. The thought came with bitter irony, soaked in despair. "Look," he spread his arms, "you are not the first." The walls began to move. The wallpaper darkened, bubbled, and from beneath it, faces began to emerge. Women's faces, dozens of them, twisted in silent screams, eyes wide with terror, hands reaching out of the plaster. This can't be real." Emily backed away, her voice trembling with paralyzing fear. One of the faces she recognized, Aunt Margaret, the kind eyes now filled with despair. Her lips moved. "Run." "All the women of your bloodline," Elias said with terrible tenderness. "Each of them let me in. Each one is here. I'll become one of them, trapped in the walls forever." The realization struck like a hammer, stealing her breath. "Why us?" The words tore out between sobs, soaked in pain and fury. "A curse," Elias said, almost smiling, "but the answers lie in the cellar. Go. Find out why you must die. A trap. He wants me to go there." Suspicion burned inside her, but so did desperate hope. What if the answer really is there? Emily moved toward the basement door on shaking legs. She opened it. The hinges screamed like a living thing. She descended into darkness, holding onto the wall, her knees weak. In the corner, an old chest. Where did that come from? I've never seen it before. Confusion mixed with dread. She opened it. Inside were stacks of journals. Dates: 1823, 1851, 1904, 1957, 1984. The last one bore a familiar name, Margaret. Emily grabbed it, flipping it open with trembling hands. February 12th. I am 27. 3 days until my birthday. He will come. The devourer of mercy. For each of us, 27. I'll be 27 soon. Horror tightened around her throat. 1692. Abigail Chase, our ancestor, a witch. Curse the bloodline before her execution. All my daughters will be so kind that their kindness will destroy them. There is a way to break the curse. The next page was torn out. Where? Where is it? Emily slammed her fist against the chest, rage flaring through the desperation. The light bulb flickered and went out. Darkness. Emily turned on her phone's flashlight, her fingers trembling. The beam caught the wall, and the wall was bleeding. Red drops ran down the surface, the smell of iron filling the air. Whispers rose from every side, many voices, urgent, despairing. Run, don't trust the priest, accept the curse, become the keeper. What does that mean, accept it? Emily screamed into the dark, hysteria breaking through her voice. Light burst suddenly, blinding. Standing before her was herself, a double. Same face, same clothes, but the eyes were empty, the skin gray. Surprised? The double smiled. Emily's own voice, but hollow, lifeless. I'll show you what's waiting for you. The double began to change. Skin shriveled, darkened, eyes sank deep. Flesh rotted and peeled away in chunks. The smell of decay filled the air. No! Emily screamed, covering her face with her hands, paralyzed with terror. When she opened her eyes again, the double was gone. But from upstairs came a sound. Loud, urgent, knocking. Emily, I know you're down there. A man's voice. Unfamiliar. Footsteps above. Elias said something she couldn't make out. Then, a crash, as if a door had been forced open. Emily ran up the stairs, heart pounding with wild hope. Someone's here. Someone can save me. She burst out of the basement. A man stood in the hall, gray hair, stern face, black coat, white collar, a priest. He held a cross in one hand and a Bible in the other. You let him in, he said, voice shaking with horror. God have mercy. You let the devourer in. 1:30 in the morning. The priest stepped forward, eyes burning with both fear and resolve. Reverend Isaiah Sawyer, he introduced himself, never looking away from Elias. I know what you are, and I know how to stop you. He knows he can help. God, please let him help me. Hope flared so bright in Emily's chest it hurt. Sawyer raised the cross, the metal gleaming in the eerie blue candlelight. In the name of our Lord, I cast you out, unclean spirit. His voice rang strong, filled with conviction. Elias didn't move. He just smiled. Sawyer stepped closer. The cross pointed directly at him. Begone! Return to the darkness from which you came. Elias laughed. The sound was inhuman, an echo multiplying through the house, as if hundreds of throats were laughing with him. Your words, priest, he said mockingly, are the whisper of a mouse before a lion. Sawyer pulled a vial of holy water, flung its contents toward Elias. The droplets hung in the air, then evaporated, turned to mist before they reached him, simply vanished. No, it should have worked. Why isn't it working? Horror began to replace hope, slow and inexorable. Holy water? Elias tilted his head, voice thick with mockery. I walked this earth when your God was still a child in a cradle. I am older than your prayers, your relics, your hope. The cross in Sawyer's hand suddenly blackened. The metal smoked, pitted with black blotches as if plunged into acid. It cracked down the middle with a horrible ring. The priest dropped it with a painful gasp. The cross hit the floor and split into pieces. "Do you see, little one?" Elias turned to Emily, his eyes burning brighter. "No one can stop me." No prayers, no rituals. Sawyer breathed heavily, pressing a scorched palm to his chest. He looked at Emily and his eyes held pain laced with despair. I knew this might not work," he said, his voice trembling with helplessness. "But I had to try." "He cannot help. No one can." The thought came with a deadened hopelessness that drained the last reserves of strength. Emily sank to her knees. Tears ran soundlessly down her cheeks. "Then it's over," she whispered, and her voice carried nothing but exhaustion. "I will die, like all of them." "No," Sawyer spun toward her. "There is another way. Not holy, not written in scriptures, but it might work." Emily lifted her head. A faint spark of hope flared in her eyes. "What? Tell me!" Her voice broke into a plea. Sawyer hesitated. Some inner struggle crossed his face, as if he were wrestling with himself over whether to speak. "The curse feeds on your kindness," he finally said, the words hard to force out, "on your inability to do harm. Elias hunts precisely that, mercy, compassion. My kindness is the bait, the realization cut like a knife. And what am I supposed to do? Become cruel?" The question carried bitter irony. "Commit an act of cruelty," Sawyer said quietly, almost in a whisper. "Kill an innocent with your own hands. Then the curse cannot hold you. You will prove you are capable of evil, and Elias will lose his power." Silence. The words hung in the air. Emily stared at the priest, refusing to accept what she had heard. You want me to kill someone?" Her voice trembled with disbelief and horror. "I know how that sounds." Sawyer stepped closer, resolve blazing with desperate conviction in his eyes. "But it is the only way. My great-great-grandfather studied this curse a century ago. He left records. The only thing that can break the chain is renouncing what it feeds on. Kill to be saved. Kill an innocent." The thought spun in her head, bilious and sickening. Emily shook her head convulsively. "No, I cannot. This is madness." "Then you will die," Elias said matter-of-factly, as if commenting on the weather. 3 hours until dawn. You may spend them in contemplation or in action." Suddenly, something flashed at the window. Emily turned. Rachel was there again. She held something white in front of her, a sheet of paper. In thick black marker, in big letters, it read, "Don't listen to the priest." Emily's heart missed a beat. Rachel flipped the page. Another message, "Murder will not save you." "What?" Emily looked at Sawyer. Fear and suspicion rippled across her face. "Is she saying, you lie?" The priest went pale, glanced at the window, then back at Emily. "No, I'm trying to save you. Your sister doesn't know. She hasn't studied ancient texts like I have. Who to trust? The sister at the window? Or the priest telling me to kill?" Panic whirled in her mind. Rachel flipped the sign again. "He wants you to fall." Elias watched all of this with obvious interest. The smile never left his face. "How curious," he murmured softly. "Whom will you believe, Emily? A servant of God? Or your sister, who cannot even enter the house?" Emily looked from Sawyer to Rachel, dizzy. "Why do you hunt us?" she spat, voice shredding into a scream. "What do you want from us?" Elias moved closer. His face began to change. The skin cracked, revealing something dark beneath, as if there were no flesh at all but a void. "Your foremother," he intoned, and his voice deepened, resonant. "Abigail Chase. She did more than curse her line. She cursed me." "What? He's a victim of the curse too?" Confusion laced with horror. "She bound me to this house," Elias continued, rage ancient and cold in his tone. to this bloodline. I cannot leave until I take every woman of your blood, every last one. And you, Emily, you are the last." He spread his hands. The fissures in his skin widened, exposing the darkness within. "After you, I am free. 300 years I have waited for this moment, and nothing, neither priest nor sister nor your prayers, will stop me." Sawyer grabbed Emily by the shoulder. "Do you hear? You are the last. If you die, he is free. But if you live, he stays trapped. You must kill. It is the only—" Elias flicked a hand. Sawyer was lifted into the air as if an invisible grab had seized his throat. He flailed, clutching at nothing, trying to tear away what was not there. His face turned purple. His eyes bulged. "The priest got on my nerves," Elias said casually. Sawyer was hurled against the wall with such force the plaster cracked. He collapsed to the floor, motionless. His chest rose faintly. He breathed, but he was unconscious. "No!" Emily rushed to him, dropping to her knees. "Do not die, please." Sawyer opened his eyes, foggy and unfocused, and looked at her. "Kill me," he rasped, every word a painful effort. "Prove you can be saved." Elias laughed. How touching. "He offers himself as a sacrifice. Kill him, Emily. You have 2 hours until dawn, either he or you. Choose." Emily stared at the priest, at his bloodied face, at the desperate plea in his eyes. Kill him. To save yourself, or die. Or... The thought thrashed in her mind, frantic, cornered, hopeless. Outside, Rachel pounded on the window, shaking her head, terror etched across her face. And in the shadowed corner of the hallway, barely visible, stood a figure, a woman's silhouette, the ghost of Aunt Margaret. Her lips moved, soundless, repeating a single word. "Don't believe." Believe whom? The priest? Elias? Rachel? Emily clutched her head in her hands, and a scream of despair tore from her chest, echoing through the house. I don't know what to do." Then came a crack, a deep, resonant sound, as if something vast had begun to stir beneath the very foundation of the house. The floor trembled, 2:15 a.m. The vibration deepened. Emily staggered, gripping the wall for balance. The house groaned, wood and stone creaking like a dying beast. What's happening? Is everything falling apart? Panic splintered through her chest. Elias turned, and for the first time, there was a flicker of unease in his eyes. "The house resists," he said, astonished. The ghost of Margaret grew brighter, pointing toward the window. Rachel stood there, holding another sheet of paper. "Ask Margaret." The ghost beckoned. "Come. Trust a ghost? It could be a trap." Suspicion clawed at her, but she had no choice. Emily ran after the apparition into the dining room. Margaret pointed toward the sideboard. "Bottom drawer." Emily yanked it open, pulling out a yellowed envelope with trembling hands. Inside, a torn page from the journal. "Sawyer will lie. Murder will not save you. It will strengthen the curse. You will become part of Elias. The curse feeds on guilt. Abigail was condemned because our own ancestor betrayed her. Family betrayed family. Elias is punishment for that betrayal. The way to break the curse is forgiveness. Forgive Abigail. Forgive the ancestor. Forgive Elias. He, too, is imprisoned. Accept the curse. Become the keeper, not the victim. I couldn't. I died hating. Don't repeat my mistake." Tears fell onto the paper, smearing the ink. "Forgive the one who killed my family." It's impossible, she thought. But somewhere deep inside, hope still flickered. The ghost began to fade, whispering as she dissolved, "Forgive me too, for my cowardice." Emily returned to the hallway, clutching the letter. Sawyer lay slumped by the wall. Elias watched her with quiet curiosity. "You want me to forgive?" she said, her voice trembling with rage. "After everything?" Elias flinched, barely noticeable. "Margaret told you," he said, and for the first time his voice carried a trace of uncertainty. "You're trapped too." Emily stepped forward, strength rising with each word. 300 years locked in this house, and by killing us, you're tightening your own chains. "Enough!" Elias roared, his face splitting open, darkness seeping where flesh should have been. Emily recoiled, terror flooding back in a cold wave. "I've angered the demon. He'll kill me now." Sawyer groaned, dragging the knife across the floor toward her. "Take it. Kill me. Prove it." His voice was weak, pleading. "Kill or forgive? Whom do I trust?" The thought screamed inside her skull. Emily knelt, picked up the knife, moved toward Sawyer, standing above him. The blade trembled in her grip. "Save yourself," the priest whispered, eyes begging her. Emily raised the knife. Tears fell onto the blade, glistening like blood. "I can't kill." But there's no other way, she thought, torn apart by pain. Then, Margaret's voice, soft, distant, whispered from nowhere. "Don't betray yourself." Emily froze, looked into Sawyer's eyes. His pupils were glowing red. "That's not Sawyer." The realization hit like lightning. She threw the knife aside. "No! I won't kill." Her voice was firm now, steady, defiant. Sawyer laughed, a horrible, layered sound, two voices overlapping, his and Elias's. "So close," he hissed. The body convulsed, and a black shadow slithered out of it, merging back into Elias. "Possessed?" Emily whispered in horror. "Controlled," Elias said, his form swelling, unstable, monstrous. 2 hours until dawn. You refuse to kill. You don't trust the priest. But forgive. Number. You're too proud. Too afraid." He stepped closer, the floor cracking under his feet. "What will you choose, Emily? Death in the walls? Or to run?" "Forgive. I have to forgive. But how?" The thought trembled, edged with despair and understanding. Emily closed her eyes. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I forgive," she whispered through pain. Elias froze, then laughed, a triumphant, terrible sound. "Too late. Too weak. Forgiveness needs faith, and you have none." He reached out from the shadows, his hand brushing her throat. Cold burned her skin. She couldn't breathe. Her body went numb, dissolving. "I'm dying now." The thought came with calm, final despair. 2:47 a.m. The cold spread from her throat downward, filling her chest with an icy emptiness. Emily felt her body losing form, turning weightless, fading into smoke, into ghost. "I'm vanishing. Dissolving," she thought, with a terrible calm that bordered on surrender. The wall swallowed her whole, like quicksand, darkness, but not empty. All around, faces, dozens of women, frozen in eternal, silent screams. I've become one of them, forever. The pain came dull, almost distant, no longer frightening. The faces began to move, whispering together, a haunting chorus. Not cruelty. Forgive. Forgive us. Forgive him. The curse feeds on anger, on pride. Accept. "How?" Emily screamed, her voice echoing into the endless dark. "How do you forgive the one who killed you?" Margaret's face drew closer, luminous in the shadows. "We died hating, refusing to accept. You see the dead for a reason. It's a gift, a burden, a destiny. Accept it." A light appeared ahead, a fracture in the darkness. Then a voice, Sawyer's, faint and raw with remorse. "I lied. My ancestor made a woman kill. She died for it. Forgive me. The only way is forgiveness, acceptance, become the bridge between worlds. Love for a demon? Madness, Emily thought, but something deep inside her stirred. She closed her eyes. Abigail burned at the stake. One of ours, betrayed by her own. Compassion flickered unexpectedly. Elias, trapped for 3 centuries. He suffers too. Pity came, quiet and strange. She took a trembling breath, whispering with pain, but sincerity. I forgive you, Abigail. You died in fire. You cursed out of pain. I understand. Something shuddered in the darkness. I forgive my ancestor. Her voice grew steadier. She betrayed out of fear. I understand fear. The crack of light widened. I forgive you, Elias, she said, her words filled with new strength. You hunted. You killed my family, but you are trapped too. I see your suffering. I forgive you. The light exploded. From Emily's chest burst something bright and searing, a pure white light, warm but not burning. The wall shattered with a deafening crack. Emily collapsed to her knees in the hallway, gasping. The air scorched her lungs. Alive, real. Elias stood before her, his face twisted in agony. What have you done? His voice broke, almost human. The contract. I must take you. I accepted. Emily rose, her body glowing from within. Her voice carried a power she had never known. I am no victim. I am the keeper. I accept the curse. I accept the gift. It's my destiny. Light filled the room. Elias screamed, a cry of torment and release. His form unraveled, darkness peeling away from him. No, not like this. I was supposed to. His voice faltered, cracking into despair. The faces in the walls lit up, smiling as they dissolved. Finally free. Thank you. You broke the chain. Margaret appeared whole now, touching Emily's cheek. You did what I couldn't, she whispered, full of love and pride. Then she, too, faded with a smile. Elias sank to his knees, his body flickering like dying flame. You freed me as well, he said softly, heavy with 3 centuries of exhaustion. Forgive me. For all of it. I forgive you, Emily said, reaching out a trembling hand, filled with compassion. Tears glimmered in his crimson eyes. Thank you, he breathed, and vanished like smoke. Silence. Sawyer stood watching, reverent. You've broken a curse 3 centuries old. Outside, the dawn. Golden. Warm. The front door burst open. Rachel ran in, wrapping Emily in a crushing embrace. You're alive! God, you're alive! She sobbed into her sister's shoulder. I'm here. It's over, Emily whispered, exhausted but smiling. But something had changed. Shapes shimmered around them, spirits faint and luminous. She could see them, clearly. I'm a medium now. This is my new life, she thought, with fear but also peace. Sawyer stepped closer. You've become the bridge between worlds, he said quietly, a gift and a burden. I know, Emily nodded, weary yet resolute. Rachel searched her eyes. What now? Emily looked toward the sunrise. I don't know, she admitted softly, but I'm not alone. And I'm not afraid anymore. Dawn. Rachel held Emily's hands tightly, her gaze flicking between her sister and Sawyer. You need a doctor, she said, her voice trembling with worried affection. You vanished into the wall. I'm all right. Emily squeezed her hands gently, her tone tender but tired. A lie. I will never be the same again. The thought came with bitter truth. Sawyer approached, leaning heavily against the wall. She needs to stay here, he said quietly, his voice tired, worn. The house is part of her now. I see the dead, Emily replied simply. The words came hard, heavy. Spirits. They're everywhere. Her gaze swept across the room. In the corner, an old man's silhouette. By the staircase, a little girl clutching a doll. In the kitchen doorway, a woman in an old-fashioned dress, all faint, translucent. They were always here. I just couldn't see them, she realized, with a mixture of fear and strange acceptance. Rachel went pale, covering her face with trembling hands. "It's my fault. If I'd come sooner," she whispered through tears, her voice breaking under the weight of guilt. "No," Emily said firmly, pulling her into an embrace. "It had to happen. None of this is your fault." Sawyer rested a hand on Emily's shoulder. "I'll teach you to live with the gift," he said gravely, "to protect yourself from what's worse. There are others, worse than Elias." The thought pricked her heart with unease. "Go," Emily said softly, but with weary resolve. "I need to be alone." Rachel hesitated, clutching her sister's hand. "I won't leave you." "I'm not alone," Emily said, managing a fragile, melancholy smile. "There's plenty of company here." The door closed behind them. Silence. Emily walked to the mirror, her face pale, eyes glowing faintly gold. "I've changed forever." The thought came calm, tinged with sorrow. Her reflection smiled. Emily didn't. Her heart skipped. She gripped the sideboard, fear flaring sharp. The reflection returned to normal. What was that? Panic flashed, but she forced herself to breathe evenly. She turned to the window. Dawn spilled gold across the streets. In the reflection, on the upper floor, a dark figure stood. Tall, motionless, watching. Emily turned around. Nothing. Looked back. The silhouette was gone. "I'm not alone. Even now." Her alertness sharpened. A whisper drifted through the air, deep, many-voiced, inhuman. "You've won one round, keeper. Elias was weak. Others will come, freed, hungry, and sooner or later, you will falter." The voice dissolved, leaving a ringing silence in its wake. Emily straightened slowly. Her hands glowed with a faint golden light. "Others will come. I know." The thought resonated, steady, fearless. She threw the window open. Cold air swept in, bringing the scent of snow. "Come then," she said aloud, her voice unwavering. "I'll be ready." Around her, the shadows stirred, the spirits of the house awakening. The old man nodded. The little girl waved. The woman bowed her head in solemn respect. "I'm not alone. I have them, and I have strength." Emily's eyes flashed bright gold for a heartbeat, then dimmed, but the power remained, warm, pulsing, alive. She gazed at the rising sun. "I am Emily Chase," she whispered like a vow, "the keeper. The bridge between worlds, and I am not afraid." Somewhere deep in the house, a quiet laugh echoed. Childlike? Feminine? Or something else entirely? Emily didn't turn. She stood at the window, watching the dawn, ready to face whatever would come. When the next midnight arrived,